Chess Master, all rats at chess.com. I'm here to analyze a game that was submitted in my Post Your Best Games of Chess thread, and this was submitted by Chessmaster102, also known as me, as he put his name down on the score sheet, or the PGN. Very interesting game. This was actually played blindfold, and for those of you not sure what blindfold chess is, basically, you don't have to wear a blindfold, but you don't have sight of the board, and the moves are called out to you, and you have to keep the position in your head. Now, this isn't as difficult as some of you might think. You'll pretty much know where all the pieces go anyway, right? You can visualize a few moves in your head, and just from there, it's a matter of keeping track of where everything is. And I first tried it when I was ninth grade, about 3 years before I started playing rated chess at our chess club. We fudged a little bit. We allowed ourselves to look every 10 moves, and I've tried it a few other times. I remember in 1976 I played was rated in the 1900s range, and I played somebody rated about 1800s, 1750, somewhere in there, and I had a nice game and beat him. And then once for the chess club that I was going to, and I was just barely an expert, I gave it a blindfold demonstration, and there they actually put the blindfold on me. I played the reporter for the paper and defeated him, and then took the blindfold off and replayed the game for him. Kind of surprised him. He couldn't believe I could do that. Well, it's not all that hard, and I don't want to talk about blindfold chess. It's all that much. I think the record is something like 70 games at once played, but give it a try sometime. In a way, I wish he hadn't submitted a blindfold chess game, because it's not a perfect game, but it's a game to analyze, and we'll do that. We'll try to help you with how to analyze a chess game. And this was, I'm not sure what the strength of the opponents are. He didn't say. I didn't try to research it, but it's the Budapest defense, and very interesting line. I'm not familiar with it. I played it once and lost horribly. I don't think I ever faced it. But anyway, there's black gives up a pawn for active development. And see, now for instance, in this position, black's ready to kingside castle. Black is stopping white from kingside castling with his bishop. And he hasn't even sacrificed a pawn here. White has returned it. So I'm not sure where book ends, and theory and the players are on their own. But anyway, just both sides are making developing moves. Now white's queen to e3. The idea of this is to be able to play bishop to e3 so that the white king can castle short. Although I don't think he castles short. I think he ends up castling long. As I was looking at this game a couple hours ago, getting ready for it. Anyway, here comes bishop e3. Now the bishop's traded off. Now both sides still have to complete their development. That's priority. But white's at least enabled himself the potential to castle on the king side, because he's gotten rid of that dark squared bishop that was raking into his position. And black's problem right now is that he doesn't have a lot of space. White's pretty much third and fourth rank. He's established himself, and black's entire queen side needs to get developed. That should be the priority now. The knight on c6 is taking away the knight on b8's best square. So objectively, we've got to find a square for this bishop, get it developed, and then bring this knight into play. So maybe the knight could go to 86 and c5. That seems to be a reasonable plan. Where do you put the bishop? e6. It might run into, there might be a pawn roller coming your way. Maybe you got to play bishop g4. Just all kinds of moves to consider if you have the black position here. So black's move is kind of tactical in nature. I don't think he's really ready to try to make the game tactical, because black has no development. You don't want to open up a position when you're not developed, because your opponent is the one that's going to take advantage of the open lines, and by utilizing the new open lines by redeploying his pieces. So White's kind of got a little gift here, and now White decides to castle queenside. It's kind of a bold move. There's fundamentally nothing wrong with it. What it gives the intention that White wants to storm the black king with eventually with his pawns rolling up the board. He wants to try to do something, get his pawns rolling, get the bishop into play, swing the other rook over maybe, and try to attack the white king or the black king. And black, on the other hand, now he's got a target, this white king. So black needs to think about going after that king. How do you do that? Well, first off, you got to get these pieces developed. Okay. Now we could argue now this rook is developed now because it's on the A file, and we want to get some lines opened up so that we can get our own pawn storm going. But black, I believe, continues on his errant way and plays F5. Now, there's a lot of fundamental things wrong with that move. First off, black has neglected his development. Okay. Second, black is opening up the position. I just said black should not open the position. And since white wants to attack the black king, this is just basically weakening the king position. And what? White sees this pawn's pinned. He's not going to take it and lose his queen. Well, yeah, it could happen. I mean, I've lost my queen the same way before. We all have. But black needed to develop, and white does develop. So it looks like white's getting a nice game. And now his bishop's getting even on a better square. Now black has to waste time getting his king out of danger. But really, the king, it's already in a bit of danger because there's nothing over there to help it. The black queen side remains entirely undeveloped. It's as long as white can keep track of this position, he's got a great winning chances for a quick knockout. So white notices that there's an annoying pin, and he breaks the pin, which is good. And here he gives this move, bishop d7, a dubious move. I don't know. It does develop the piece. We were saying he had to get it out. Maybe you have to go to g4, e6. Maybe you want to keep d7 open for this knight, so this knight can come over here and help out. Anyway, bishop. We're kind of more focused on what white should be doing, but I'm offering a lot of suggestions for black. But I see this position. We try to find out what goes wrong. Why did something go wrong? Why did somebody get a good game? And white plays h3. He's preparing to roll his pawns on the queen side or the king side, and then now black admits his error and goes to e6. It tempos a pawn here. But again, black's lost a move. He could have done this last move, and he didn't. So white comes up with a reasonable move here, bishop d5. And black, both sides make what we call a double error here. Black plays this move, and if you're in a tournament game, you can maybe figure out the tactics. The move white actually plays is good, and but there was better. Now, he makes a comment in another move, but white had just a crushing move here. It's kind of hard to see at first. You have to see the whole follow-up. But you might want to pause the video and try and solve this. Okay, resume the video. Basically, with white having all this development and black having none, and lines are opening up. The thing is to do is, like I say, to start redeploying the pieces. So, we consider candidate moves. Do we want to bring a rook over? Do we want to bring a knight over? Do we want to bring this knight over? Do we want to make an exchange? Well, generally you don't want to make an exchange at this point. You want to make an exchange that favors you. But white has a great move here, and the key move is knight g5. And this just threatens to win a piece down outright. So black has to respond. If he puts the bishop on f5, d7, or c8, there's a nasty knight fork. So black's replies are kind of limited here. What's he going to do? Well, you might say, well, what about bishop g8? Well, then white takes advantage of black's new weakness on the white squares by getting rid of that white squared bishop, and then just plays this little creeping move, queen f3, and black's basically busted here. The threat is to play queen d5 check, and if you know tactics, you've all seen the discovered mates where the king goes back to h8, you bring the knight check, double check, and sack the queen on g8 and get knight f7 mate. Well, black has time to prepare that, but I'm just saying if it's white's move, he's threatening to win with that. Black has to deal with this. How does he deal with it? Well, it's basically deadly. There's no good move here. I think the only possible move is knight e7, and there's got to be some good moves here. Queen h5, threatening f7, threatening h6, queen takes b7. I mean, white can sit down and look at all these possibilities and just savor over them. What else can black? How else can black defend? What if he takes the bishop? Well, you know, we just come back here and renew the threats. There's the threat again, or we to take or to check with f7, and you know, black's in some serious trouble here. Again, on rook f8, we have queen h4. Might even have queen c2 hitting this, making more weaknesses. But let's see, queen h4, h6. We have this check winning. What's black going to do? Well, wait a minute. No, that doesn't work. Okay. D8 is guarded. I have to sneeze. It's funny how you always sneeze when you don't want to. Excuse me. Okay. So, and white could take with the pawn, but you know, white just basically got everything he wants here. How's black going to defend this position? It's just starting to get out of hand real quick. You know, then you have knight e6. That picks up material. If you want, you can stop and give a check. You know, white just has his way here. Black's got serious troubles. Queen d7. Well, now this threat becomes pretty deadly again. White's just got everything he wants. But being a blindfold game, you can't expect to see it all. And what white does is reasonable. Oops, he doesn't do that. He plays c5. And there's some tactical ideas behind it. If this pawn takes, this bishop can win a piece by taking either one of these and uncovering a rook, an attack on the queen. So black saves his queen with this. And here's a note from the player. This started out as a game me and my friend decided to play, and I chose to play it blindfolded. While we were driving home, while he called out the moves and wrote down the annotation and used the board, but when I got home we used a clock. So from here on it became game in 25 minutes. Okay, so white gives himself a dubious move with his next move. He says knight d4. He doesn't give a other move as a better move. Let's see, what can white do here? Well, like I say, he can take on e6 and then bring the knight into g5, and that comes in with tempo. Because no matter how black retakes, he's going to have to deal with that, and black's going to end up with an isolated pawn on d6 at the very worst, and then we look for more. Okay, so this much I see, and I kind of took this position fresh. I saw the knight g5 trick, but maybe there's better moves for white. Let's try and analyze and find it. Let's see if we can find it. Okay. So it doesn't matter if he takes with the queen or the rook. Knight g5 is coming. Now, can the rook come down our throat anywhere and be a nuisance? Doesn't look like it. Okay, so let's back the rook up. And then white can take this pawn. And now this pawn is threatening to become a monster pass pawn, or even take over here and be a monster pass pawn. So black's kind of obligated to take back. And then knight d5. Now the white king looks a little airy, but look at those knights. They just control so many squares. This whole box around the king, all these squares are covered by white knights. Black can't occupy any of them with his queen or his rook. And on top of that, there's the threat of knight c7 forking some rooks. So what's black do? You know, maybe he has to come back. Well, he can't come back to d8. He's going to get forked. So, you know, right there's trouble. Black may have to sacrifice that pawn and allow the pawn to become a monster pawn, and then try and win it later. But then maybe he can generate something to attack the king. Now, these are things you have to think about if you're playing white. Like, for instance, if this is a turn-based game where you have hours to figure out a move, maybe that's what you have to do. So you have to just realize you can't take back because knight d5 is going to be powerful. We've got to prevent that. Well, I'm not sure how we prevent it. You know, I want to say let's just develop a piece, but you know, white may just ignore the pawn. I was saying he could take it. He just may play knight d5 anyway. So does black have to give up the exchange in this position, or maybe he needs to take with the queen? You know, it doesn't matter. There's still going to wait. There's a thing on e3 now. Okay, but that's okay. Let him trade queens. Okay, just watch. Okay, just let him trade. And then white's just simply winning a pawn, and there's really nothing black can do about it. Can black generate any threat? Is knight to a5? You know, well, got to watch out. d7, or just simply taking the pawn, threatening to make a queen with mate to follow, is going to get black's attention. He has a spy check on b3, but not much else. You know, white's simply winning. Okay, so apparently it was a dubious move. Maybe there's better for white in there. Don't expect me to solve everything. That's for you guys. It's wrong for, I've said it before, it's wrong for me to show you everything. You don't learn if I show you. You got to sit there and look at this position and say, what else can I do? What else can I do? What else can I do? Okay, so now what I have to do is reload the PGN since I've got so many variations in here. The way this interface works at chess.com, it buries the main line, and I have trouble finding it. Okay, so c5, queen f6, knight d4. Okay, so now black exchanges, and white takes back. Now, black is temporarily a pawn up, but it really doesn't matter. White's enjoying most of the play here. He brings the rook back. Now, black still needs to think about development, okay? Still has to develop. And, you know, the queen knight and the queen rook are still stuck there. He comes up with c4, and white just grabs back his pawn. What else was there? You can't play b6 because the rook on a8 falls. Maybe c6, but then I guess he figures bishop takes and then queen regains the pawn. Well, that would have been better for black, and it may not regain the pawn. Okay, let's see, c6. I'll show you. Take with the rook. I gotta watch. Just have to watch the back rank. Make sure the back rank's not loose. Whoops. Black just won his pawn back. Unless white has... white probably win it. No, you can't play rook f2. I'd love to play rook f2, but we just can't. You know, do we have a crazy sack with giving up a rook with check to break the pin? Doesn't look like it. Knight e2. Whoops, not d1. Knight e2. Attacks the queen. I don't know. So maybe white can't grab that pawn. c6 might have been a better move, but who knows? Okay, so he played c4, and then white grabbed his pawn back. Now black's got some weak queenside pawns. They're all going to be targets in the ending. Okay, gets the rook out into play finally. Swings the bishop back over to menace the kingside. And here I think black's wise to make an exchange. That white's bishop is just too strong. So white finally develops a piece, which is good. Always make exchanges that develop your pieces, not your opponent's. So white's following the correct method here, so he's improving the position of his pieces. But for the most part, the white game it's kind of petered out a little bit as far as attacking goes. The opportunities were missed with knight g5 and with taking on e6. So actually, even though black has some structural disadvantages on the queen side, black's actually close to an even game. The white king isn't all that safe. Who knows? There might even be a timely pawn sacrifice here to break open. Well, the knight's covering it, but try to break open the pawn structure on the queen side. Make a3 a weakness. Anyway, white continues on. He's basically starting as a stack from scratch. And then black finally on move 26 develops his knight. And here black's getting some counterplay. Here white makes a mistake. And I think black's winning now. Surprise, surprise. Knights are tricky little creatures. Let's go attack this rook on d7. And the whole premise behind it is you've got this family fork coming up on d3. White is going to have to give up material here. Knight e5 just, I believe, outright wins for black. And it's easy for something like this to happen in a blindfold game. It shouldn't happen in a real tournament game, but black missed a win here. I don't see a good move for white here. He's going to have to give up some material. How's he going to do it? I guess maybe bring the rook over here, and then black will just take it. And white's got some play here. White's got some play here simply because he's got an active rook, but the white king is now a little exposed. Oh wait, look, e4 is hanging. My goodness. So white's could be in serious trouble here. How's he going to deal with this? You can't play rook d1. You're going to maybe have to bring the rook back and give it up down here. And hopefully this d3 pawn becomes a target. But black's winning this. It's just pure and simple. But black missed it. Instead of knight e5, he came up with rook b8. This just gives white second wind. And he secures b2 down. And I think still there was some better. Knight e5 had to be played. This just gets him in a bad way real quick. And now white's pretty much winning. f6 just breaks black open. He doesn't have enough. And black just falls apart rapidly. It allows a mate in 2. Check. There's only one move. And then checkmate. So tactical positions can happen in any game. They're even more difficult to handle if you're playing blindfold chess, simply because it's easy to lose track of things. But hey, it was a very interesting game. It could have gone either way, as I showed, and give white credit for playing blindfold. I mean, you can't criticize the fact that he allowed a winning game because that can happen in any game. Okay, white still conducted most of the game pretty well. A couple little inaccuracies here and there. There were some better moves he had, but overall he didn't make that many mistakes. So level of play anywhere from 15 to 1900 on white's part. Kind of hard to judge from a player's ability from one game, but But certainly, white was daring, and white got a well-earned point. So thanks so much for your time. I'll be making another video for this series shortly. Got to catch up on it. Take care.